Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your support and your messages and the calls. Overwhelming. Because on Friday I was traveling home, and indeed it's true, I was involved in an accident, a road accident around Salga. It's a few meters from Nakuru town. I was supposed to attend some burial there of one of my friends, a family member to one of my friends, and my car rolled twice just in the middle of the road. It was an accident that really involved. It was not really looking good. I was there with my family members, but I thank God that I am alive. But I decided to take a back seat a bit, just because of the shock, and I also had to look after the family. Yeah, of course, there was that trauma. But now I'm back, and I just want to say thank you very much that we serve a living God. And that was not our time. That was not my time. There was still a reason to be alive. And that is why I must soldier on, raise my eyes up, raise my head up, and believe that there is a reason why I am still alive. And we will continue doing the good work. I'm glad I'm back, and I can do what I like doing most. I'm still in Kisumu. Yeah, I traveled to Kisumu today. Apparently, I just wanted to, because I was home, I managed to just get my way, travel home as I had planned. And I am in Kisumu. And what I wanted to see is what is the state of the protests in Kisumu. So I will be able to report from a very good, informed point of view. One thing I realized is that businesses are closed, especially around CBD, all the way from Nairobi CBD, the people that are not Kisumu, the Kondele area, and the other side of Kachok. And I understand that nowadays actually the hotspot is Kachok, where there is a lot of mugging. Those young men from the area of Nyalenda, there's normally a lot of mugging around those areas. But police I've seen quite some instances shooting, the tear gas canisters and all that. But I think it's when you talk to the Boda guy who was moving with me around, was telling me that Kisumu is bad in the evening. That late in the evening, that is when people are normally shot, actually. So it's a warning people that if you're in Kisumu, from around 6, if you stay in a hotspot, you try to avoid moving out. So that is just a bit of it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want us to look at this question, this observation that I've made, because one thing I was paying attention to today is the fact that the protest started on 18th of June. Today is 2nd of July. So that is still 2 weeks counting, intensified. Actually, it was not 18th. Yeah, I think actually that was 18th of June. Today is 16th of July. So that is now 1 month counting. So it should, and the president, what started as finance bill dropped as a vault and as a vault. The president made concessions on that finance bill, allegedly, some concessions. And then he moved and also made some concessions by scrapping the whole cabinet, dissolving the whole cabinet. I also saw another news story this morning on Wednesday evening, Wednesday morning, that the president was also planning to send home all the principal secretaries and section of advisors like David Ndii, who are really the face of anger that have been causing the protest. And so much of what people would expect is, I was paying attention to the fact that the president even mentioned, I want to dissolve the cabinet. Of course, he called for the dialogue that did not go through. How exactly were the members of the public going to react, or how they were going to pick that discussion, or rather that move? But today, I realized something. For example, I was following online, the areas that have protests have now re-emerged. This is Kericho. Kericho, the first week of the protests, by that 18th, it was experienced. In fact, they even brought down the UDA, that UDA symbol, same to Eldoret. So today I saw Kericho, there were protests. There was Kabarnet in Baringo County. There was Karatina. Just later this evening, if you check that TV screen there, I was just checking. This is around, I'm doing this video around 3 p.m. East African time. There were bonfires in Karatina, Nyeri County. There were also Embu. Embu was the first protest that also happened in Embu. And that was when, I remember that was when when the county offices were actually burnt by some of those protesters that had gone to the street by then. So Embu has also re-emerged. So part and also Nakuru. Nakuru has also been hot. Yes, Nakuru has also been hot. In fact, I've seen one protester has been shot in Nakuru, shot dead in Nakuru. And then the Nairobi areas, Mombasa, Nairobi, of course, the Nairobi and the suburbs like Kitengela, there are some instances, some very serious confrontation between protesters and the police. And so, you'll then want to ask a question. The President of the Republic of Kenya has been making efforts, and I've been saying that those efforts are just cosmetic. These efforts have been running a propaganda narrative by profiling fellows whom the State House team believes are behind the protest. By thinking, and the latest one that has been dragged into that discussion is about the Ford Foundation, and we look at it. But one of the critical issues we've been raising, and I've been saying here, is even the more we try to look for perceived sponsors and beneficiaries of the protest, we are deviating from the real issue where the Gen Z are on the street. So that's one strategy. That propaganda has been, it's not substantiated because no one has that evidence. That has been brought about to say, so-and-so is behind the protest. That was a deliberate move to try to deconvince the members of the public from participating by saying, you know what, it's not genuine call, some people are behind it. So that is the first strategy. The second strategy that Kenya Kwanza has employed is the issue of calling for that dialogue. And that dialogue, they have tried even to drag Raila Odinga in that discussion. And what they've done by dragging Raila Odinga, even by Raila coming now to endorse and call for the protest this Monday. And despite of Raila Odinga coming and saying, you know what, the country needs to speak together so that we can put our house in order, the very week the protest, the dialogue is supposed to start this week, is the week now the protest is actually re-intensifying. So that is the second strategy of calling for dialogue. And the third thing that Kenya Kwanza has been doing is the issue of now trying to put together, or rather, trying to put together a strategy by, making concessions like firing the cabinet. So the cabinet has been fired, all of it, quite section. But if you ask me, someone was saying that it was just announced firing, but in reality, some of those cabinet members are still reporting in office. That's the sad thing of it. If you see their communication, if you see the way Duale was doing a tweet the other day, you still wonder, is it really someone who's been fired or someone who's still working? So, all these strategies have been going on. But the second wave of the protest is emerging, and that is something that should worry the Kenya Kwanza team very dearly. It should be the biggest worry that despite of putting all these strategies together, saying the way this is supposed to be done, this is supposed to be done, and we are now trying to make these concessions, is trying even to go to the rallies and try to make communication, try to get the church platforms, even banning those Harambes. But the new wave of the protest is coming out, and you realize there is something that is going on, and within no time, it will really be bad. It will not be easy for even Kenya Kwanza to manage. So I want to look at the reason why, despite of those strategies, the Tuesday protest that was held today, the 16th of July, is proving to be an uphill task for government, and why the people are still surging, going through. Number one, I think the police brutality, and I think police brutality is general. The killing of protesters was a big and still remains a big mistake. It's a big mistake because I think let's talk of killing and profiling. Profiling and killing. Just when this protest started, I remember the first video I did, I said a day before the Tuesday, the 18th one, I said here that police should restrain from any sort of violations of human rights. That police should restrain. And I want to say that these violations is giving the protest some energy, some behind the scene energy. And I want to explain how. I have seen the president and the team arguing that there are some NGOs that are supporting these protests. You know what's happening? The human rights organizations and human rights civil society organizations that are parading for human rights. So where do they thrive? They thrive in violations of human rights. They move up and down collecting statistics and data and supporting the families and all this and that. So the activities is centered around it. Now, the danger of killing and profiling protesters and how it's actually fueling the situation is twofold. One is just emotions, flaring emotions. When people, and there is something that government, I think they underestimated it, or probably they ignored it, seeing that those who are protesting are mobilizing through social media. So these young people are seeing their peers being carried in coffins. They attended the burials of the wrecks and the others. And you cannot win a discussion with them that those who have been killed were those who are killed because they were criminals. No. It's clear that those who are killed, some of them died with holding flags in their hands. The issues of the abductions, and I'm saying this was a big blunder. The issues of abductions were here. And the issues of abductions is a big problem. Because, look, for example, Duncan, the gentleman whose body was found somewhere in a river somewhere, the JKUAT, the third year university from JKUAT, who allegedly is amongst the team that stormed parliament. You know, the organizations that are on it. So if some people are receiving funding on human rights, defend rights, and democratic rights, then it's on that fold. What's making it here is that this kind of the killing of protesters is already a fuel of what exactly is going on in the country. And probably those who are really in it just need to be extra careful by realizing that what they're doing is not gonna help the situation. So that is number one. The second reason, and Kenya Kwanza will have to maybe audit and think about this, is that I think William Ruto has failed to clearly audit the security system during the security operations in the past 1 week. In fact, I'm using the word audit because the police have been on the negative side of the story. They've really carried the blame on how they have handled protesters. Now, in the wake of all these arrangements, something happened. A story, and I think that was on Friday, that Inspector General of Police, Comey, had resigned. So IG Comey resigned and his deputy took over. And from our experience, our previous experience with that of Kinoti, I can tell you that the said person we were saying might have resigned, maybe did not resign. Maybe he was forced out of office. So he could be going out with part of a blame, a public blame. Because some members of the public will feel, oh, he sacked the IG. So it seems probably the IG was the problem. Now, you see the way Bungei was moved back to headquarters and there were some areas around it. The members of the public understands very well that the buck stops with the president and the other team. There were multiple stories about how Kindiki had to issue some orders directly from some of the quarters because the police system did not work. What am I saying? The security system in the country has been made to believe that we have a godfather. We are being protected. But that also has a danger. The reshuffles that have been done in terms of so and so must go and so must go might have also have an internal sabotage. If you think I am going, then I'm going because of this. In fact, I want to tie this with the other point on the cabinet slots. Why chasing the members of the cabinet does not work? Let me tell you. The 22 members of the cabinet that have been chased out of power, that have been pushed out of power, their thinking and the reasoning here is that the president wants to believe and wants to tell the constituents that we are the problem why the country is facing this. So what can they do? Behind the scene, they can also push this. So that's why President Ruto is finding himself in a big mess. Because behind the scene, they can also find themselves talking about this. And it's not talking, but actually also plotting. There's some counties that these things are about mobilizing. They can mobilize behind the scene, even to a shame government. Because some of them have known, oh, maybe we are not going back. So kama sisi ndio shida, wacha tuone kama hiyo maandamano itaisha. And then it will take that time. Then the third observation I'm making, and President Ruto might really have to look into this. I think nothing has changed. I think the president, Kenya Kwanza, they did not change their approach. Sacking was fine. But then sacking, then what next? The problem has never been about individuals. That has never been the problem. The problem has never been about individuals. So not all individuals. For example, in that cabinet, not all of them were in the picture. Probably it was Moses Kuria, David Lee is part of that, maybe Kindiki, Linturi, and some other fellows. But there's some fellows that have never been in the picture. So an attempt to be seen as if pacifying most of the public is not it. Still, when the president is coming back, the president is talking about housing levy, creating funds. The president is still talking about the migration of labor to other countries. The president is talking about we have a plan. And this issue of, and that is why I'm saying, the president should stop telling the members of the public that we have a plan. Because it is that plan that the public doesn't believe. The public doesn't believe it, that we have a plan. The said plan is what members of the public are saying, you don't have a plan. That's why we want you out. And probably sacking, dissolving the whole cabinet. It was supposed to pacify, but it has also given the Kenyans, it has also given Kenyans an impetus that, look here, this guy needs to go home. And in fact, now it is the fact that but the fact that he considered that, okay, we have a mess. He gave them a leeway that we have our way to go. Lastly, politicians and the big boys have been regrouping. William Ruto has been trying to look for Raila Odinga in the Azimio, and they signed that IBC deal. And Raila received a backlash when he said, things are fine now. And personally, I also don't, to date, I don't support that statement by Raila. Because people have always been killed and things, violation of human rights, then we make concessions, and after those concessions, we forget about the ones that suffered. So, when Raila was perceived as if crossing towards William Ruto, and Raila Odinga, rather the opposition, has been the face of fighting for the rights of the people, I'm telling you, the public perception that came out was we are on our own. And remember, they had told you we are leaderless, we are tribeless. So they said they are on their own. So people have owned up. In fact, what has happened is people have owned that protest. And people have taken it not as what other people might want to think. When they said Occupy, Ruto must go, I've always been saying that President Ruto and the team, they did not interpret what Ruto must go meant. But what Ruto must go meant that they have to move from Saul to Paul. The Damascus moment. And that's what I'm saying. That moment has not been seen. I agree with what Kabando is saying, that the most responsible thing then for president to do is to pack. And maybe pave way for another election, if that will be it. Because things are out of hand. And I can tell you for sure, the day president brought military, people said, military, yes, military this. But did it scare people? People are still going back to protest. Did the military thing scare people? No. What is it telling you? That people only fear porridge, probably hot porridge and the bullet. But it's not been looking good. And guys, if you're in Kisumu, kindly take care. I've been told by my brother guy who was driving me around, was telling me that, Kevin, in the evening, if people around this place, the excessive use of force and shooting and all that always happens in the evening, because in the evening, some few things happens. People who have been protesting, they did not work, and so they are looking for things to take home or things to go, and that is when now the thieves take advantage to break into people's shops so that they can find their way. So kindly, let's try, reach in the evening, retreat home. Even if you're in the struggle, you must also know at what point should you go home. Because if it reaches at night, you never know. The security officers will take charge, and that's when sometimes things gets wrong. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you very much for your support. I believe that we'll still continue doing this. The God has given us time to continue doing analysis and continue supporting the society and be still of significance to all of us. So thank you very much.